This is a story I experienced a few years ago. Back then, I got myself into debt from gambling and was looking for an apartment as cheap as possible to pay back the debt. Even though I had visited several real estate agencies, I could not find an apartment within the price range I was hoping for. While I was going home disappointed, I saw a run-down apartment on my way home. The apartment had 2 stories with 2 rooms on each floor. The dirtiness of the outside wall and the old design, almost as if time had stopped there at the building, gave off a strange feeling. When I looked at the outside wall of the apartment, there was an old sign which said, "For rent." I would never think of living in such an apartment if the situation was normal, but since I was driven into a corner with my debt, I called the number written there, thinking, the rent may be extremely cheap here. The person who answered the phone was quite an old man. As I asked how much the rent was, it was half the price of what I was hoping for. So, I told him I wanted to sign the contract immediately. The owner said, "Since the 2 rooms on the second floor are both open, I don't mind. But, for you to be wanting to move into this apartment, you must be a very weird person. Are you okay?" I wanted to pay back the debt as soon as possible, so I moved into the apartment immediately after. Just as the exterior, the inside was run down also, but it was bearable enough considering how cheap the rent was. Since I only had few things to begin with, I finished moving in no time. I sat down on the floor to take a break and looked at the wall, and the first thing I realized was something being stuck on the wall. I looked at it carefully, and I found there was a hole in the wall and a rolled newspaper was stuck in the hole. And it was written, "Do not peek inside," with a red marker next to the hole. As I wondered if it was a prank the previous resident left, without giving too much consideration, I pulled out the newspaper and peeked inside the hole. The other side of the hole seemed to be connected to the next room, and all I could see was the Japanese room of the same layout as my room. I thought somebody must have accidentally made a hole, and I rolled and stuck the newspaper back in. A few days later since then, while I was watching TV late at night, I felt the presence of someone and looked toward the doorway. There was a reflection of somebody passing through on the frosted glass of the kitchen window facing the hallway. Judging from the height and how the person was walking, it seemed like a woman. If I remembered correctly, the next room should be empty. I thought that it was odd at this time of day, but at this time, I kept watching the TV without paying much attention. Late at night a few more days after that, I heard the sound of footsteps from the next room. I remembered the woman passing through the hallway a few days earlier, and I thought there was a new resident who moved in. The next day, I worked at my part-time job until late at night. I parked my bicycle in the bicycle parking area of the apartment and looked up at the second floor. I realized the room next door was dark with no lights on and there was no curtain, either. Well, nobody is living there after all. As I was thinking like that, I climbed up the stairs of the apartment. And, when I came to the front of the next room, I could not help but to be curious, so I slowly peeked inside from the mailbox on the door. There, I saw a woman's pale, bare feet in the darkness. The woman seemed to have realized that I was peeking in. She came toward me one step at a time. I almost fell on my bottom, getting weak in the knees. I hurried down the stairs quickly. And I ran away as fast as I could. On that day, I spent the night at an internet cafe and waited for the morning. I contacted the owner the following day and told him that I wanted to move out immediately. That's why I asked if you were okay at the beginning. The owner said it as if he had more to say. I signed a contract with the next apartment in a hurry and decided to cancel the contract with the apartment. The night before I moved out, I could not help but to be curious about that hole. I felt an urge to peek through that hole one last time. As I grabbed the newspaper with my fingers and pulled it out fearfully, it felt like cold air was flowing smoothly from the other side of the hole. As I slowly peeked in, there was a lifeless, young woman peeking at this side from the hole just like I was.